and welcome to our channel Penny Lesson. We talk about everything finance, from tips on making money and proper investing to news about the different economies and situations affecting the global markets. The goal of this channel is not only to teach you how to be more financially responsible but also to teach you how to be more aware of global events. So why not just sit back and relax while we tell you what's happening in the finance sphere? Be sure to subscribe to my channel and hit the notification bell to be constantly updated on my latest videos. Remember, one penny lesson a day keeps being penny less away. One of the largest banks in the world is Goldman Sachs. Its assets are estimated to be worth over $1.4 trillion, making it the 24th largest in the world and more valuable than the annual output of countries like Australia, Spain, or Mexico. Despite having a contemporary appearance, Goldman Sachs has a long history. German immigrant Marcus Goldman established the business in 1869 with the help of his son-in-law Samuel Sachs. Additionally, the first account of a collapse it aided dates back almost a century. You may not be aware of this, but Goldman Sachs may have played a significant role in the Great Depression by being overly greedy. The GSTC, or Goldman Sachs Trading Company, was first established. It granted the company $100 million worth of shares, which it later acquired with its funds. It then quickly resold each one to the general public for $104, making a sizable profit from premiums. The company's valuation was artificially increased due to its continued purchase of shares. But this wasn't enough for Goldman. To efficiently generate more money, it constructed an unending pyramid of investments by supporting a network of trusts that it mainly owned, lending money to transfer it into the next trust, converting each trust into a cover for the following one, resulting in a huge Ponzi scheme. However, this pyramid would eventually have to come down. The bank's losses eventually reached almost $500 billion in today's currency, and have been cited as a major factor in the financial crisis that precipitated the Great Depression, one of the worst economic eras in modern history. However, 100 years ago is practically ancient history today. Let's move on to a more contemporary era. One of the largest bubbles in history was the dot-com bubble in 1999 and 2000, and you can be sure that Goldman Sachs was there to take advantage of it. The idea was straightforward. Goldman took tech companies that barely generated any revenue and were little more than ideas public through initial public offerings publicized the results in the press, and encouraged millions of investors to purchase the company's stock. When these businesses eventually failed to produce a profit, the share price would fall sharply, but the investment banks would already have made their money. Journalist Matt Taibbi summed up this outlook perfectly. It appeared as though financial institutions like Goldman Sachs were tying ribbons around watermelons, throwing them out of 50-story windows, and soliciting bids over the phone. Only those who removed their money from the game before the melon hit the ground were the winners. New laws put into effect at the time only worsened the situation. Before being listed on the stock market, a company had to be in operation for 5 years, with 3 of those years being profitable. Robert Rubin, the U.S. Treasury Secretary, overturned these laws, allowing a huge number of low-quality companies to list on the stock market and ultimately cost investors billions of dollars. And what position did Rubin hold before being appointed Treasury Secretary? He served as co-chairman of Goldman Sachs for 26 years. $5 trillion were lost as a result of the dot-com bubble burst. A former employee of Goldman Sachs, as well as other factors. You have no idea, my friend, how much harm a single bank can cause. So if you think things couldn't get any worse, think again. Let's talk about the subsequent crash, which Goldman Sachs played a role in, and which most viewers of this video have experienced. Wouldn't you have known if Goldman Sachs had been there to make the 2008 housing collapse in the United States even worse? It was one of the most devastating financial crises in history. Before paying credit agencies to give these securities misleading ratings that caused investors to assume they were secure, The bank first created packages of mortgage-backed securities packed with poor low-quality mortgages. Goldman intentionally misled investors while knowing that the mortgages contained in these securities would default behind the scenes, a fact the bank finally acknowledged in 2016. Investors all over the world lost trillions of dollars as a result of the 2008 collapse. Additionally, the U.S. government had to bail out the banks to prevent the situation from getting worse. Henry Hank Paulson, the U.S. new Treasury Secretary, oversaw the bailout. Paulson was formerly the CEO of Goldman Sachs, in case you were wondering. Because AIG owed Goldman Sachs $13 billion during the bailout, Paulson presumably decided to assist in the bailout of the insurance business. In other words, he utilized public dollars to bail out AIG so that it could assist in repaying the debt owed by his previous firm. However, Paulson did not extend the same courtesy to Lehman Brothers, Goldman Sachs' primary rival at the time. Instead, Paulson's administration permitted Lehman Brothers to fail, creating a comprehensive bailout plan that would only cover the entire financial sector after that. However, Goldman did not stop at destroying the lives of millions of investors. It also began to focus on destroying the economies of whole nations. Greece was in a dire financial situation and was deeply indebted in the early 2000s. The deficit requirements of the EU couldn't be met. The nation needed to borrow more money since its spending exceeded its revenue, but was unable to since it had reached its maximum. Thus, Goldman Sachs steps in to save the day. Goldman successfully falsified Greece's financial records. By allowing it to borrow an additional €1 billion in swaps, the loan was prevented from being included in the official public debt of the country, enabling it to continue borrowing money it would almost certainly not be able to repay while still complying with the EU regulations. However, Goldman had such little confidence in Greece's financial standing that it immediately bet against one of its customers purchasing a debt insurance policy that would pay out if Greece's economy collapsed. Wouldn't you know it? Greece eventually did. Following the U.S. subprime mortgage crisis in 2008, the nation's economy nearly ended. A crisis that, as I've already stated, Goldman Sachs contributed to creating. Therefore, it is clear that Goldman Sachs has a dismal past, and there is a ton more that I could discuss. Similar to how a former managing director of Goldman Sachs became the head of a global bank. Under Zoellick, the World Bank was charged with widespread wrongdoing after it was claimed that $2 billion had vanished as a result of computer errors. Or how, in the words of a former vice president of the firm, Goldman exploits retiree pension funds by pitching too complex financial products to clients who don't require them, relying on their ignorance, and making millions of dollars in upfront fees from their clients. However, I leave these anecdotes for now and close with something that is somewhat current and in which the bank is also involved. We are all aware that gas prices are currently way too high, which was anything that was a global issue in the summer of 2008. The political narrative holds that this was due to a lack of supply, but nothing could be further from the truth than that. In actuality, it was simply because they needed a new market to inflate after the housing bubble burst in 2008, and they chose oil as that market. There had been an increase in global oil supply and a decline in demand in the 6 months before the 2008 price increase. The market was being manipulated by investment banks like Goldman, which would normally cause prices to decrease. They invested billions of dollars through pension funds and other institutional investors in oil futures, thereby transforming oil from a commodity into a stock. Additionally, the banks profited each time a barrel of oil was traded and the price increased. Each barrel of oil was traded on average 27 times before it was used up by the end of 2008. By placing billions in the wallets of banks like Goldman, consumers will be paying a significantly higher price. And in this way, Goldman Sachs and other investment banks are accountable for the global economy's manipulation and the consequent worsening of everyone's quality of life. The worst part is that it is because of us that they are even able to do this. Smaller regional banks, as well as pension and insurance funds, provide the majority of the funding for investment banks like Goldman Sachs. Banks and funds that make investments with bigger companies using the money of their clients, people like you. Therefore, your money is used by Goldman Sachs when they manipulate the market and destroy the economy. In the end, it is precisely the money that is pouring into them in an unending stream that gives them such immense control over the global financial scene. Therefore, the next time you invest your money with a local bank, purchase insurance, or make a pension investment, ask yourself where exactly the money is flowing. If you cannot provide an answer, perhaps it is necessary to find out, which you can always do by following the money. There you have it. Wow, quite the revelation. What do you think? I suppose with great power comes great responsibility. With that said, kindly let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Wow, was that news? Why not ponder it? Want to know the latest? Comment if you want more articles like this. This video is just one of many videos on my channel that brings you the latest news about the world of global finance and economics. So go hit that subscribe button if you don't miss out on content like these. If you enjoyed this video, please hit the like button. Thank you for all your support, and I'll see you again next time. Remember, 1 penny lesson a day keeps being penny less away. Cheers.